The justice system sometimes lets victims down very badly, and the legacy can be decades of anguish. This next story is a shocking example of that. More than 30 years ago, a 12-year-old girl was plied with alcohol, gang raped and left for dead. The judge, later a Chief Justice, more or less blamed the victim, and the rapists were never jailed. Only now, all these years later, has the victim been able to even read the judgment, and tonight she tells her story to reporter Josie Taylor.
I just couldn't stay away, I couldn't fight it. I hope you see my face and that you'd be reminded that for me, it isn't over.
For years, this mother of two has been battling her past.
They raped me. They abused me. They left me for dead. Why did he not sentence them to jail?
For hairdresser Exanne Fraser, being well presented is part of the job. But lately, keeping up appearances has been getting harder.
People who know me, they would be shocked right now because I've always been a happy person. But now I'm a sad person and I cry and I can't push it down anymore.
In 1981, Exanne Fraser was 12 years old. She and her family had just moved to Eagleby, between Brisbane and the Gold Coast.
I was kind of like any other kid, really. Until one night when I decided to go to my friend's house to meet her to go roller skating, and I got intercepted by another young girl. I decided to go with her, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And it has changed my life forever.
There were older boys at the house and plenty of alcohol. The 12-year-old Exanne Fraser drank spirits for the first time and later blacked out.
Apparently they walked me up to a bush which was 200 metres from the house that we were at, which was only around the corner from my house. I was told that they raped me, sodomised me, played with me for hours, took all my clothes off. They surmised that they panicked, decided to take me back to the original house. There was a old Holden panel van in the yard, and they took my body, my naked body, and they put it on the dash, and they put my head through the steering wheel, and they snapped it onto lock. Now, whether they were trying to kill me or whether they were trying to secure me in that spot, I don't know.
She has no memory of what happened that night.
And then I woke up in my hospital bed, and I looked down at my hands and I could see I had mud in my fingernails, and I was like, why have I got mud in my fingernails? I don't understand. Where am I? And my mum looked over at me and she was beside me, and she was crying and she was holding my hand and she said, I'm sorry, but you've been raped.
3 boys were arrested and, according to police documents, admitted to raping and indecently dealing with the unconscious 12-year-old. When the case came to trial, Exanne Fraser was required to appear as a witness in the Supreme Court before Justice John McCrossan. She was still just 12 years old.
I did have no fear. I walked into that courtroom and I got up on the stand, and the only concern I had was that I wasn't going to be able to read the oath properly because my reading wasn't so great, and I'd embarrass myself in front of my rapist. That was my main concern. It started. The questioning started. Even as a child, I could tell where they were going with this. They were like, how much makeup did you have on that night? How tight were your jeans? Were your jeans so tight that you had to lie on a bed and do them up with a fork or a coat hanger? I was just so angry in my head at the time. I was so angry thinking, why are you picking on me? I'm not the one who's hurt anybody here.
The 3 offenders were found guilty of indecent dealing and attempted rape. Justice McCrossan sentenced them to 2 years probation. None went to jail. The judge went on to become the Chief Justice of Queensland.
The judge, I feel like he raped me again.
In his sentencing remarks, Justice McCrossan said,
"There is no doubt in my mind that the offence occurred as a result of the very large quantity of drink which the girl took, acting with complete imprudence and utter disregard for her own well-being. Had the girl retained some degree of consciousness, it is not beyond the bounds of possibility that in that condition she may have consented to your acts. Who's to know? The girl has not been, so far as I can judge, in any way upset by her experience. I do not think I have ever heard in the witness box from a more composed 12-year-old.
Justice McCrossan died in 2008. It was only this year that Exanne Fraser read his sentencing remarks for the first time.
I was shaking. I was reading what this man had written about me and I was totally disgusted. I was totally enraged. I was shaking in my lounge room, hearing in my head as I was reading what he was saying about this 12-year-old child.
I thought they were pretty horrifying sentencing remarks. They're quite unlike the kinds of sentencing remarks you'd get now, but quite horrible, and certainly suggested that the victim was somehow on trial for the offences.
After the trial, Exanne Fraser returned home to Eagleby. She says she was repeatedly assaulted and bullied as a result of the rape. She had her first child at 13 years old.
After I was raped, I wasn't ever, not once, had been seen by a social worker. There was not even the school had any idea of what had happened to me. There was no let's tell the headmaster, let's warn the teachers, let's handle this girl a little bit carefully. If she's feeling upset, send her home. There was absolutely nothing.
Exanne Fraser is happily remarried and lives in Melbourne with her daughter. Her son is a teacher. She says raising her children has been her finest achievement. She now wants to write a book about her life, but Exanne Fraser is also examining her legal options, which include suing the Queensland Government for damages.
There's two avenues we're looking at. One is a crimes compensation. The other one is an application for an ex gratia payment by the Queensland Government.
What does justice mean for you?
I just didn't want to have it pushed under the carpet. I want people to know how I was treated as a child, and I want to make other people realise that the court systems were wrong and they did the wrong thing by me, and I don't want to lie down and let that just disappear.
Unbelievable. Josie Taylor reporting.